Good morning, Cullman. Thank you for tuning in to Cullman Today. I'm your host, Cheyenne Sharp, and today is Tuesday, September 3rd. We have a lot to look at in local news today, including information on the Sidney Helms Hip Memorial Barrel Race, the Sweet Tater Festival, and an update on a Sunday night carjacking. All this plus sports, weather, and more. But for now, let's dive into the top stories happening in Cullman today. Authorities are investigating a shooting and carjacking incident that ended at the intersection of U.S. Highway 278 and U.S. Highway 31 on Sunday, September 1st, leaving 2 hospitalized. The incident began on County Road 463. The Cullman County Sheriff's Office and Cullman Police Department were on site all afternoon and into the evening processing the scene. CCSO Lieutenant Chad Whaley reported that 2 individuals were transported to area hospitals with gunshot wounds, including the victim and suspect. The incident is believed to be isolated, and both the CCSO and CPD stated that they are committed to providing further updates as the situation develops. Next up, the Air held a Christmas yesterday morning as Cullman County Parks and Recreation opened the second day of its annual Sweet Tater Festival at Smiths Lake Park. The 2-day affair boasted games, activities, and tons of food, including specialty sweet potato menu items like sweet tater ribbon fries, sweet potato cheesecake flavored gelato, and overstuffed barbecue baked sweet potatoes. Local growers brought truckloads of produce and goods to the festival, allowing festival goers to meet farmers from the area and learn about the community's strong agricultural ties and traditions. There were also dozens of vendors and loads of live entertainment. Sunday's lineup consisted of Matt Prater, Todd Cameron, Caleb Shirley, and the Clogwild Cloggers, whilst Monday's stage saw acts from Alabama So-and-So, Jesse Priest, and the Hutch Edward Project. Like always, the Sweet Tater Festival Labor Day car show was the big draw of the festival's second day, with rows of classic and souped-up automobiles on display. To finish out our top stories, local volunteer fire departments are actively recruiting volunteers. Both Jones Chapel Fire Department and Johnson's Crossing Volunteer Fire Department recently shared the need for men and women to work within their departments. To be a volunteer, you must be 18 years old, possess a valid driver's license, have at least liability insurance on reliable transportation, and attend monthly meetings and training sessions. Applicants must be able to pass a background check and a drug screen. The departments train volunteers at no cost to the volunteers. For more information or to get involved, contact any of the volunteers at Johnson's Crossing or Chief Mark Reeves at 256-339-0485. You can also contact Jones Chapel Fire Chief Clint Thrasher at 256-747-3654 or message the Jones Chapel Fire Department's Facebook page. Now that we have the top stories out of the way, we're going to take a quick break before returning with sports. Hello and welcome back. Now it's time to find out what's going on in the world of sports. All 10 of our local teams were back on the field Friday night, and 7 of them were able to earn big wins. Cold Springs was back on the road Thursday night to take on Curry. The Eagles put on a pair of scores in the board in the first quarter and built an early lead, and after a scoreless second and third, Cold Springs put together a methodical touchdown drive in the fourth to seal a 24-14 win over the Yellow Jackets. The Cullman Bearcats were back home at Oliver Woodard Stadium Friday night, and after falling to Bob Jones in Week 1, they bounced back in a big way against Mortimer Jordan. Cullman racked up nearly 300 yards on the ground, led by Cooper Lofton with 218 and 3 touchdowns, on the way to a 35-14 win over the Blue Devils. The Hanceville Bulldogs traveled to Holly Pond for a county battle with the Broncos, and this matchup on the gridiron turned into a track meet as soon as the ball was kicked. Holly Pond went into the locker room leading Hanceville 34-14 at halftime, and the Broncos didn't slow down in the second half, putting up 40 more points on their way to a 74-35 rout of the Bulldogs. The Good Hope Raiders traveled to West Point to take on the Warriors in their season opener Friday night, and points were hard to come by early on. Good Hope leaned on a solid running game and a strong defense to pull away in the second half and earn a 17-3 win over West Point. After hosting a fall jamboree against Pisgah last week, the Fairview Aggies hit the road ready to kick off their regular season against Springville. The Aggies jumped out to a 13-0 lead in the opening quarter. The Tigers were never able to overcome the early deficit, and Fairview returned home with a 41-17 win and a 1-0 start to the season. Vinemont traveled to Rimlap to face off against the Southeastern Mustangs, and for the second week in a row, the defense came up huge and propelled the Eagles to a 22-8 victory. For the first time since 2013, the Eagles are off to a 2-0 start. Addison hosted the Decatur Heritage Eagles Friday night, and after a disappointing performance against their arch rivals from Winston County last week, Addison bounced back against the Eagles, taking advantage of multiple turnovers and not committing any of their own to come away with an impressive 36-20 victory. That covers sports for today, but make sure to check with the Cullman Tribune each day for the latest in sports coverage from across the area. We'll be right back after this message. Hello and welcome back to Cullman Today. Now it's time to speed things up with a news rundown. 4 stories in under 4 minutes. For the third year, the Jones Chapel Volunteer Fire Department will host Community Day. This year on September 8th from 2 to 6 p.m. at the station located at 96 County Road 940. In addition to the day of family fun with activities, games, and food, the department hopes that attendees leave Community Day a little more fire smart than upon arrival. During the event, there will be a community meeting at 2 p.m. and the department will have its fire prevention smokehouse set up and some of the firefighting equipment on display. Community Day will have a couple of new attractions this year, a dunking booth and a cakewalk, with all proceeds going towards the new Fire Explorer post. According to Fire Chief Clint Thrasher, the Explorer Post is part of a program open to young men and women from grade 6 to 20 years of age who are interested in careers in the field of fire or emergency services. The program combines classroom training with hands-on lessons and field work, allowing for a real-world glimpse into the lives of emergency personnel. In recognition of National Suicide Prevention Month, the Alabama Department of Mental Health continues efforts to raise awareness about the critical issue of suicide while providing life-saving resources such as 988 that are available to all individuals across the state. Suicide is among the top 9 leading causes of death in the U.S., and the need for access to mental health care has never been greater. In response, the state has prioritized expanding and enhancing access to resources for those at risk of suicide. The 988 Lifeline has become a crucial part of Alabama's mental health infrastructure. Over the past 2 years, more than 99,000 Alabamians have utilized the resource, demonstrating the vital role it plays in preventing suicides and providing hope to those in crisis. During Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, all Alabamians are encouraged to spread hope and promote prevention. By fostering open conversations about mental health and suicide, we can break the stigma and ensure that everyone in our community knows where to turn for help. Wallace State Community College's Future Foundation received $50,000 from the Women's Foundation of Alabama Good Jobs Challenge Award that will help train pharmacy technicians and fill a need for those workers in the college's covered area. Wallace State's Good Jobs as Pharmacy Technicians initiative is strategically crafted to address the needs of an underserved population, particularly women and single mothers living in poverty. Recognizing the financial barriers to education, the project will provide essential scholarship opportunities to offset the costs associated with training. Wallace State and the WFA will provide training scholarships to 20 women this fall. The second annual Sidney Helms Hip Memorial Barrel Race is set to take place on September 14th at the Cullman County Agricultural Trade Center, with gates opening at 7 a.m. While this event will capture the essence of an entertaining and competitive day of barrel racing, it is also a heartfelt tribute to the life and passions of Sidney Helms Hip, a young woman who deeply loved horses, barrel racing, and serving her community through her fire department. The Memorial Barrel Race, established just 3 months after her passing, was created to honor her memory and the things she loved most. The event also supports a scholarship fund awarded to a deserving senior or adult looking to further his or her education, regardless of GPA. For more information about the event, sign-ups, or how to contribute to the Scholarship Fund, visit the Sidney Helms Hip Memorial Scholarship Facebook page or contact Lonnie Helms at 205-471-4691. Now for a quick break before we look at the weather ahead and pay our respects with obituaries. I'll be right back after this quick message.
What's in the magazine? October's peeking in. Oktoberfest in Cullman, let the fun begin. Heroes in our town, business all around. Recipes for sharing, joy everywhere found. Colonel Cullman cheers, history in our ears. Community so bright, polka through the night. Sports spotlight today, kids come out to play. Fields and courts are buzzing in the autumn sway. Germans came to stay, crafts and brews on display. Cullman's heart is glowing in the polka way. Colonel Cullman cheers, history in our ears. Community so bright, polka through the night.
Welcome back. Let's take a moment to pause and remember those who have lost their lives this week as we turn to obituaries. Willie Oscar Robertson. Willie Oscar Robertson, 86 of Cullman, passed away Sunday, September 1st at his residence. Funeral service for Mr. Robertson will be at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, September 4th at Cullman Funeral Home Chapel, with interment in Chance's Crossroads Cemetery. The family will receive friends Tuesday, September 3rd at the funeral home from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Larry Wayne Williams. Larry Wayne Williams, 77 of Cullman, passed away on Saturday, August 31st at University of Alabama Hospital. Funeral service for Mr. Williams will be at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, September 4th at Cullman Heritage Funeral Home and burial at Cullman City Cemetery. Visitation will be from 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, September 3rd at Cullman Heritage Funeral Home. That finishes up obituaries for today. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families and friends. Now, let's take a look at today's weather forecast. Today should stay partly sunny with a high near 87. Tonight is set to be mostly cloudy with a low of around 66. Tomorrow shows a chance of showers between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. and then a chance of showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m. Mostly cloudy with a high near 81. Tonight continues with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with a low of around 63. That concludes another edition of Cullman Today. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. I'm Cheyenne Sharp with Cullman Today, wishing you a great Tuesday, Cullman.